Welcome back to B.Hooked Crochet's Crochet Challenge for Warm Up America. In this final video, I'm going to discuss how we're going to attach all of our granny squares together to construct the final afghan that we now need to send on to Warm Up America to secure our entry in the Crochet Challenge. Before we can begin to sew our afghans together, I need for you to take a look at our challenge page at BHookedCrochet.com. You can find that link in the description below. Once you've reached our challenge page, I need you to scroll down until you see the assembly diagram. This is what I'm going to be referring to when I'm telling you exactly which blocks I'm sewing together. Once you have this diagram in hand, grab your blocks, your darning needle, and your background color. So here I have my block number 1 and my block number 2, and as you probably noticed, these are two of our solid granny squares worked in our background color. Now, as you know, there are many different ways to join granny squares together, and the method that I've chosen for this project is quick and super easy, and that's really important for this project because, as you know, we're working on a time frame and we have to get these afghans sent in to Warm Up America within a certain amount of time in order to be considered for the prizes. So what you'll need to do is grab your darning needle and thread it with some of your background color. Now we want to sew all of our blocks together with the background color because we want to have an invisible seam. Okay, and so when you place the two blocks side by side, and you want to put the right side facing up, and we simply just want to fold them together so that I've got the two correct sides facing each other. And we're going to be working from this part of the granny square, so from this corner all the way down to the bottom, and then blocks 9 and 10 are going to be sewn basically right here. We'll just continue on down. So what we need to do is just keep track of the side that we need to work on, and so I'm just simply going to rotate it like this. So I'm going to be working from this direction down to that direction. Okay, and looking at it this direction, we want to make sure that we're lining up the corner, and we're just going to insert our darning needle into one of the chains from this block here, and then go into the chain from the other block, and now just pull that through. And I'm working with a rather long strand here, so you can work with shorter pieces if you'd like, if you think it's easier. But if you use a rather long piece like I have here, then obviously you're not going to have to join as often. So the main thing that we want to make sure we're doing is that we're lining up each of the stitches properly. So if you take a quick check over on the other side, it should be the exact same length. Okay, so we just want to match them up, that way everything stays straight. And so I've got my working strand here coming out this side, and I'm going to locate the back loop only on this first block, and I'm going to jump across and find the back loop only of the next one, and I'm just going to insert my darning needle there. And the reason why we're using the back loop only is because we're going to have a nice clean and sort of an invisible seam to this. And then we'll just find the next stitch, the back loop only, jump over to the other side and work this through. And this is the stitch. It's so easy, and like I said, there's really not a whole lot to be learned here as far as the stitch itself, but we just want to keep working back and forth until we've made it to the end of this block. Okay, so once you've made it all the way to the corner, we just want to make sure we get one stitch into the chain as well. Okay, so since we're done with these two blocks, blocks 1 and 2, then you can go ahead and grab blocks 8 and 9, and we'll work on them next. So we're going to continue by sewing them together right here. And as you can see, this has a really nice clean ridge and almost an invisible seam, just like we talked about before. So here I have blocks 8 and 9, and I'm going to place them together just like so, so that we've got 8 on this side and 9 over here. And again, we just want to fold them together so that we have the right sides facing towards each other. And I'm also going to go ahead and set up my blocks here. These were the first two that we sewn together. Just go ahead and fold them together as well. And we're going to be working down this side. And so what I'm going to do is just rotate everything this way. That way I can just jump right into working my stitches along the same side. And I'm going to do so just by working into the chain. And the stitch is exactly the same. I'm really just demonstrating how we basically move from one set to the next. And it's pretty self-explanatory, but we'll run through this real quick. Now again, we just want to make a quick check that it's going to be lined up properly once we reach the other end. And it looks like things are good there. So I'm just going to continue on. Okay, so the next thing we would do is just do the exact same thing, but we're going to grab blocks 15 and 16. And we would sew them together just like we've been working this. So as I mentioned, we're just going to be sewing them together every single block just like this. Now if you find that you want to sew them together in a different order, like if you'd rather do the horizontal seams first instead of the vertical, then by all means do it whatever way is comfortable for you. Really, the assembly diagram is really just there for reference and to help make sure you get the pattern correct. So that's one thing that is important, is that we maintain the pattern of this design. So how you sew them together is really up to you. This concludes our final demonstrational video for B.Hooked Crochet's Crochet Challenge for Warm Up America. What I need you to do at this point is continue sewing all of your blocks together as shown in the assembly diagram. And once you're finished sewing your afghan together, then I'll just remind you that you need to take a picture of your finished afghan. You'll need to send that in to challenge@bhookedcrochet.com. And don't worry, you can get all this information on our challenge page at bhookedcrochet.com. But you have to do so before the deadline. That's very important to be considered for the prizes. Warm Up America needs to receive your blanket, and they need to do so before the date specified on our challenge page. I'd like to take a minute to personally thank each and every one of you for participating in this challenge. Sending your completed Afghans to Warm Up America is such an incredible thing, and I'm so proud of each and every one of you for participating. On behalf of BHookedCrochet.com and Warm Up America Foundation, I'm your host, Brittany. We'll see you next time.